It was now the second week of training and the last day of personal training for that week. This meant that Naruto was still trying to keep Jiraiya out of the ceiling circle for 3 minutes. By now, he had impressively reached 1 minute and 45 seconds, but each second further was harder and harder to obtain. It seemed like half a second better was a major accomplishment when he would get it. He'd scratch and claw as best he could, use as many clones as he could muster, throw the best attacks he had at Jiraiya to keep him away, but it would always inevitably end with Jiraiya triumphantly breaching the ceiling area. The process was maddening. And Jiraiya had said that when he actually used the real seal, it would require much more chakra than he could give if he were to make so many clones at once. Naruto had an easy way to solve that problem though. He would simply make one clone and make it activate the seal. Then, if he needed to, he had the rest of his own chakra to use to split amongst his clones that he would use to actively fight and protect the single seal clone that had half of the original Naruto's initial chakra supply. It would be a simple case of splitting his chakra in half and then spamming his own remainder to fight. Right now though, the two were taking a break so that Naruto could learn the process needed to make the seal in the first place. In their usual field that had become their meeting place for training and whatnot, Naruto sat across from Jiraiya studying all the patterns and arrays written in the scroll. The same scroll that marked the circle he was trying to protect during their actual physical training. "Make sure you know how to write this array perfectly," Jiraiya said. "Depending on how wide you want the range of this jutsu to reach, you're gonna need more than one scroll." "So, this jutsu doesn't have a set range?" Naruto asked as he attempted to commit the seal to memory while making his own master copy to use to prepare his own scrolls. "Cool." "Yeah, not as cool as you think," Jiraiya said, looking over Naruto's work. His handwriting was very good. He was expecting mistakes, but not here. He could thank Naruto's routine abuse of the shadow clone training method for that. Naruto could probably forge perfect signatures if he had to sometime down the line. Something to think about at a later point. "How's it not cool?" Naruto asked with a puzzled look on his face. Jiraiya then launched into an explanation. "Okay, in order for this to work, you need at least 3 scrolls. If you have 3 scrolls, you will take up at least a 50-yard circumference and a ton of chakra for a normal person. But we both know you're not exactly normal, which is good for you in this case. You could probably use more than 12 scrolls and have enough chakra to keep going, but chakra probably isn't going to be a concern after you finish that jutsu." Naruto tilted his head curiously. "Why? I thought chakra was important. Don't we die without chakra?" "Chakra isn't important after you activate this jutsu for a very good reason," Jiraiya said with a stern look on his face. "Once you activate this seal, then no one can use any chakra within the range of it, at all." At that time, Jiraiya set up 3 scrolls in a circular pattern, much like the position Naruto was meant to protect. One hand seal for each of the 5 chakra natures. Remember them. He says he went through the 5 seals. Tora, Mi, Inu, Sato, Ushi. Naruto went through the 5 seals slowly along with Jiraiya, trying to remember the pattern just as Jiraiya called the name of the jutsu. "Chakra disabling seal!" Naruto cringed at Jiraiya, not expecting him to just activate the jutsu. A massive array spread out from the ground where the seals were placed. The distance and range that Jiraiya claimed that it would, and in a flash, appeared on both Naruto and Jiraiya's bodies before disappearing. After it had done so, Naruto didn't feel any different. "That's it?" A nod from Jiraiya was his answer. "That's it." His lips quirked upwards in amusement. "What? You expect an explosion or something?" "Kinda," Naruto replied lamely, looking at his hands and around the entire area. "Did it work?" "You tell me," Jiraiya said, sitting down on the ground with his cheek in one hand as he waited for Naruto to try something. "Go ahead and make one of your dumbass clones so I can get back to kicking your ass again." Now Naruto is very defensive of his signature jutsu. His clones are most certainly not dumb. "Fine! Multi-shadow clone jutsu!" he said, his hands up with the necessary hand seal for the jutsu to take form. Nothing happened, however, causing Naruto to blink blankly. "Wow, really?" Jiraiya chuckled at Naruto's reaction. "Yep, until you choose to undo the technique, it lasts for as long as you're conscious, or for as long as the opponent is in range, and whoever you're fighting won't be able to leave the battlefield." A frown then came over his face. "It does the same thing to you though. It evens the playing field. The only thing someone can use after this is normal weaponry and taijutsu. But if you had to find it reasonable to use this move, then your opponent probably outclasses you when using chakra." "No chakra at all." Naruto couldn't help but consider that more of a hindrance than a help. Maybe he was looking at it wrong though. "So anything caught in the range of the seal when I activate it can't use chakra until I release it, me included." "Another reason why I'm making you fight me so hard," Jiraiya said. "You're not gonna be facing off against any genin like me. Ever. You already have fantastic fighting skills without any chakra. This is teaching you how to keep a stronger opponent at bay though. If you can hold me off 3 minutes, then who knows how long you can hold off a lesser opponent that's still stronger than you." The way Jiraiya described him, Naruto found it hard to believe that he was really any good. Jiraiya repeatedly wore him out, as he had yet to land a single blow on Jiraiya whatsoever. On the other hand though, it was hard to believe that anyone could say something like that about their own strength and not make it seem like empty boasting. "Are you really that strong, Parvy-sensei?" "Absolutely," Jiraiya said as he made a half tiger sit. Once again, the ceiling array appeared over the entire area before disappearing into thin air. "Now I want to see you get to work on making the rest of the scrolls to use the jutsu so you can give it a try once or twice. Then we'll try to get you back to outlasting the time limit." Naruto let out a grumble at having to get back to work on something like that. "Well, bitching about it won't help anything any faster. So chop chop, brat." 2 days later, Team 10 training ground. 4 weeks until chunin exam's final round. "How in the hell are we supposed to use that?" Ino asked Naruto abruptly. Now was the brainstorming portion of their team meetings, finding out what the others had to add to the team equation and hatching out ways to use it. At the moment, the trio of genin were sitting under their usual tree to keep out the sun as Asuma supervised them nearby, and Ino was none too pleased with Naruto's current progress with Jiraiya. Your sensei for the month sucks if that's what he's got up his sleeve for you, Goldie-kun. Blunt as always, it seems. Hey, it's not like I'm just wasting my time here, Naruto defended weakly before getting some more conviction in his voice. And I will totally find a way to make the seal work for me when I master it, you know? Believe it. Like hell he'd take all that time to learn the seal and not have a way to make the effort needed to activate it work out heavily in his advantage. All the beatings from Jiraiya he'd been taking in an effort to keep the seal safe before his activation were also paying dividends. It was better than fighting clones, and trying to get Shikamaru into gear to fight him directly never really ended very well. Shikamaru, on the other hand, was thinking to himself about what Naruto had just told them.
If Naruto can't control the entire amount of chakra in a given area like that, then he controls the battlefield. But without chakra at all, Ino and I aren't much. Still, he's right. There's a way to use that jutsu in a situation like the exams. And if he doesn't figure it out, then I'll do it myself.
Ino let out a groan of exasperation.
We can't lose to Forehead Girl, even if Sasuke-kun is on her team. If she beats us, I'll never hear the end of it.
She held up both hands as if they were scales.
Sasuke-kun is probably off somewhere learning some amazing jutsu that only a genius could pull off. And Choji's probably getting one-on-one time with his dad to learn things from his clan. And on the other hand, we've got the bum who hasn't told us anything about learning anything new, and we've got Goldie-kun and his miracle ability to turn off everyone's chakra, including ours. But oh wait, it takes 3 minutes for him to even load that up.
From the more irritable than usual reaction that Ino gave, it was clear that she was feeling the stress of it all. And it had only been a week of the training period. She was projecting her own lack of progress with whatever she was trying to learn over the course of this time onto them. Naruto had actually learned the seal that they were talking about and had prepared a dozen or so scrolls, but Jiraiya insisted that they continue the physical training for the multiple beneficial reasons of doing so.
Alright, enough,
Shikamaru said, getting both Naruto's and Ino's attention to focus on him.
Yesterday we worked out the kinks of our usual formations. Now we need to figure out what we know about some of the other people going to fight. So let's start with our first opponents, those stone kids.
We don't know anything about them.
What could they do about that but head into battle and hope for the best?
Fine,
Shikamaru muttered. He knew that they had nothing on the stone team as well. But then again, all the stone team had on them was the basic knowledge of what 2 of the members of the team might be able to do due to their clans.
So let's get right to the next team in case we advance. How about those cloud genin?
Naruto raised a hand as if he were in school and spoke up.
They use those swords. The girl with the red hair and the boy on the team both have the same kind of sword. They both have katana, and the girl Samui carries a tanto. They might all be close range fighters.
Shikamaru nodded and asked another question more important.
If it came down to you against them one-on-one, could you beat them with your machete?
It depends on how good they are,
Naruto answered. He knew how to use his machete in a way that was effective for himself, but he was no bladed weapon specialist by any stretch of the imagination. He still knew that as he was now, if he were to fight someone like Zabuza or Asuma, then no amount of clones wielding deadly close range weaponry in the world would be enough. Now he didn't think that any of the cloud genin would be that good, but they could definitely be better with those swords than he was with his machete.
We can talk about that later,
Shikamaru said with finality on that particular topic.
Now for the other half of that fight. What do we know about the other team they're fighting? The one from the leaf, with the Hyuga, the guy in green, and the girl with the buns in her hair.
Tenten's team.
Naruto spoke up again, eyes squinted hard in thought.
Well, Tenten uses tons of weapons to fight. She's really good at throwing pretty much anything. And I'm pretty sure she can fight up close with a weapon too. The guy in green, Rock Lee, he's fast. The fastest guy our age I've ever seen actually. Naruto didn't think he'd see anyone that fast anytime soon. And then he fought Haku. But he's not just fast, he's strong too. Naruto could still remember the kick to the face he took. Quite a rude awakening to becoming a genin. As strong as you? Ino queried to her fellow genin. Naruto could effortlessly throw her or Shikamaru around like rag dolls. His taijutsu required him to be stronger than his opponents to be used to full effectiveness. Naruto gave her a sheepish smile. Let's put it this way, Ino-chan. It's not whether he's stronger than me, it's whether I'm stronger than him. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow, not really believing that.
There's a genin, and we're not even talking about Choji here, that's stronger than you? Troublesome. I'm not even gonna get into the first thing you said about the guy either.
Dealing with a wickedly fast person that was physically stronger than Naruto wasn't exactly very reassuring of their chances when going up against them.
And the last guy is Hyuga that we're damn sure not letting you get in close to fight against Naruto.
Why? At this point, Asuma cut in, taking his spot as overall supervisor to the 3. I suppose because against a Hyuga, Naruto's style would be useless. He walked over and grabbed Naruto by the wrist. Your style requires you to stick to your opponent with your chakra. The Hyuga style of taijutsu forces chakra out of their hands and other parts of their body too, just in a different way than yours. They can disrupt your grip, they then close off your chakra flow altogether, so you can't even get chakra to flow through your hands to grab and stick onto them anyway. He then let out a deep sigh. And from there, if they hit you, their taijutsu can rupture organs. There's no real defense against it. You can't build up your organs or your tenketsu or chakra points. And with the use of their Kekkei Genkai, the Byakugan, they can see it all. A deep frown crossed Naruto's face.
So going in close against Neji or Hinata might get me slaughtered?
He could see maybe Neji pulling it off. Jerks like that usually have the skill to back up their arrogance, or else it would have been beaten out of them long ago. But Hinata, on the other hand,
He just couldn't see her shutting down his organs in a fight. But if Asuma said so, it meant that it could always happen. And these matches that were forthcoming didn't really have any rules. Who knew what any of them were really capable of when push really came to shove?
Now we need an anti-Hyuga strategy.
Shikamaru asked before sighing and rubbing his temples.
I am never taking another chunin exam again if we fail this one. Ever.
He needed to start writing this crap down at home to help keep up with everything they needed to do. Asuma had been watching them all since day one of team training. He'd only been watching as they worked team drills like a well-oiled machine. He only added small comments from time to time when he saw it necessary to do so, and prompted them to make slight adjustments, but they seemed to have a pretty deep grasp on what they were doing. It had only been 5 months, not even half a single year since they had become genin. He was proud. He was unashamed to say that he was excited to see what they could do next.
You guys are gonna do just fine come finals time.
Asuma thought to himself.
I just know it. I wonder if I can up my wager with the others.
One day later, Shiho's apartment. Deciding to make use of his day off, Naruto went over to the house of someone he hadn't seen since before he left to take the chunin exams, since it was her day off as well. He hadn't told Shiho about how he had done entering the exams, due to everything that had been thrust upon him immediately after returning home. Needless to say, when he finally made the time to go and see her about it, she was rather ecstatic. "I'm so proud of you, Uzumaki-kun," Shiho said happily as she set down a tray of tea on the table she and Naruto had been sitting at. "You're one step away from getting promoted. Congratulations!" There was no ill will towards him being promoted before her because she was an ninja in the active forces. Besides, she quite liked her job. It was nice to have someone so enthusiastic for him though. Naruto had to say, having other people be happy for something you did was a fantastic feeling. "Thanks a lot, Shiho-chan," Naruto said as he took a sip of the tea to be gracious. He wasn't particularly one for tea, but hey, it was free. "I've got to really pull one over during the final tournament though, or I'm not going to get anything out of the exams." He had already told her who he was more than likely going to face off against in the competition. Her advice was rather simple for each clan of the kids from the Leaf. Against an Inuzuka, aka Kiba, if he could separate the ninja from the dog and beat them separately, then that would be far easier than taking them both on at once. Against Nakamichi, aka Choji, speed would be his greatest weapon, and attacking from off angles would eventually topple the large shinobi. With Naruto's fighting style, he would have been advised to stay far away from Nabarame, aka Shino, or else his chakra would be sucked away by the bugs, albeit at a ridiculously less pace than other ninja. But it would still happen if he were swarmed, so any attempt to get close would have to be very tended. And a Hyuga would be a vaunting challenge in close, but thriving in near quarters was still very possible, just not very advisable, because even if he won in the end, the latent danger of the attempt was not really worth the risk. And her advice for fighting an Uchiha that had had time to get used to their Sharingan, aka Sasuke, well, Naruto was not going to be able to move fast enough to catch Sasuke off guard than he did, and Sasuke was just as fast as him, so he couldn't rely on his body not to be able to keep up with his eyes. Shiho's best advice was to avoid making eye contact, and cut a grinding pace in the battle to wear him down, something that Naruto was rather certain he could do. Shiho pressed her hands together in thought, grabbing her cup and taking a sip of her own tea. "Well, you have the raw talent, you apparently had the pedigree even though you didn't know it until recently. And you have Shikamaru-kun if you don't know how to approach a fight." Thinking of the lazy yet very intelligent Shikamaru got her flustered for a moment before she regained her composure. "So what's your big issue, Uzumaki-kun? Normally you're all, 'Believe it, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass,'" she said in a manner mimicking Naruto before letting out a giggle. "Or something like that. Come on, tell me what's wrong." Well, Shiho wasn't a competitor in the exam, nor was she a teammate whose morale he felt the need to keep up by keeping his uneasy feeling from her knowledge. But she was a trusted friend, and she was right. Who would she tell that it would get back to anyone that mattered to? He had listed his grievance to Shikamaru, but he had enough on his plate to worry about this as well. Even though this meant nothing to her, he wanted to talk to someone about it, even if it was just him being paranoid. "Okay," Naruto said reluctantly, still weighing the benefits to the cons of telling her anything of the sort. "In the exams, there's this guy. Gaara's his name. He's the freakiest guy I've ever met in my entire life. Just being around the guy made me feel like he wanted me to die." And he did, but that much he didn't need to tell her. "And I'm never gonna get close to that guy in a fight either." He wouldn't be so shaken if he knew that he had a chance at hitting Gaara, but if a dozen clones couldn't get him to flinch, he had to sit down and brainstorm. Hearing Naruto flat out say that someone intimidated him was a new thing, but Shiho would help him any way she could, even if all she could do in the end was lend emotional support. What kind of jutsu does he use? Sand. Naruto's blunt and to the point answer left her with a confused look on her face, forcing Naruto to elaborate. Gaara uses the sand from this gourd he keeps on his back to smash into stuff like waves on a beach, or he grabs people up and just crushes or suffocates them to death. Shiho cringed at the explanation. "And it makes a kind of shield around him so you can't get past to get directly to him." Shiho adjusted her glasses on her face and raised an eyebrow curiously. "So this person controls sand?" Naruto could hear the skepticism in her voice as to why that would be such a big deal, and racked his own brain trying to think of a way to explain why this is so threatening. "Okay, when I say sand, I'm talking about enough sand to cover the floor in each room of your house up to your toes. And whenever anything gets close to him, no matter what it is, the sand comes to block for him. The sand can take an explosion from 6 explosive tags going off at the same time. And what's worse, he can send it out at you anywhere he can see you." He then thought a bit more about Gaara's sand defense. "I swear to Kami, a few times he didn't even know my clones were creeping up on him, and they still got stopped by Gaara's sand." That's a lot of sand, and to be able to use it like that. Shiho could now see it in her mind's eye. At first, she thought it was just like sand being blown all about like in the wind, but now she could see waves and waves of sand pounding all about, and suddenly the idea of being caught in sand like that didn't seem like such a minor thing. Naruto nodded before speaking up. I have one move that might work, but I've never used it in an actual fight before. The jutsu he had come up with by accident before the exams began. He could do it again. He had already done it and made sure that it wasn't a one-time thing, but he'd actually have to touch the sand. He had to put his hands on the sand and pull away, and his experience from the clones told him that he wouldn't have much chance of that. Hearing that Naruto might have something to use, Shiho looked at him with an inquisitive look. Why haven't you tried it in a fight before? She sure wasn't going to spar with him to test it out. She wasn't a fighter at all, because if I hit someone with it, it'd probably kill him, Naruto stated plainly. It's not really something I can use on friends. I like my friends. And I can't just keep knocking down trees since I already know how to do that. I like nature. At least a dozen poor trees fell victim to this technique when he was trying to discover whether or not it could be used as an actual attack. Taking one look of pondering, Shiho let out a grunt of focus. Well, I'm not sure what to tell you here, Uzumaki-kun. This guy with the sand, it's beyond me. And you don't think you can punch your way through it to get around it. She got a shake of the head from Naruto in response. I'll try to come up with some way to help you, but I don't necessarily know what I'll be able to find out in the end. Naruto abruptly stood up and grabbed her hands to comfort her. Hey, don't worry about it so much. It was his problem, not hers. All she had been doing since day one had been helping him. And what had he done for her? Not a single thing, actually. So having her worry her little head over something that might have been inconsequential just because he was a little paranoid wasn't fair at all. I'll just keep training. If I'm strong enough, then it won't really matter in the end, right? Then I'll have some tricks of my own when the time comes. The confident grunt he gave to assuage any concerns over the matter that she may have had didn't really do much once she really began thinking about Gaara's abilities. If they were really as Naruto reported them to be, it was like Gaara was his antithesis on the battlefield. Hopefully he was right, and it wouldn't be an issue. Standing in a clearing, surrounded by around 20 straw dummies, Tenten suddenly drew 2 handfuls of shuriken and quickly threw them at all the dummies in front of her and in her peripheral vision before swiftly drawing more and doing the same to the remaining dummies behind her. She repeated this process until she was stopped by the voice of her sensei.
Tenten, what are you doing? Is this what you're intending to train on today?
Guy asked. He didn't really have a problem with it, he just wanted to know. Tenten stopped working and turned to Guy. Hey sensei, where's Lee? She asked upon noticing that the guy lookalike was not following along behind the Jonin. Guy gave her a smile that gleamed in the sunlight.
Lee is doing a few push-ups to stay warm for the next bit of training he's about to receive. I came to get you because personal training time is over, and I'd like you to help the boys learn how to deal with opponents wielding swords.
Oh, Tenten said before sighing and wiping her brow with a small smile on her face. Well, let's go then.
That's the spirit, Tenten, Guy exclaimed. Never be satisfied with your current set of skills. Always strive to improve. I still would like to know what you were trying to do though. You won't be facing that many opponents at once during the exams. At the most it would be 3, wouldn't it?
Letting out a sheepish laugh, Tenten fell into step with Guy as they walked to the location that Lee and Neji were left at. I can already fight against any weapon user we'd seen in the tournament, but in the next round, we might be fighting someone that can make solid clones. Lots of them, more than the dummies I set up. And I don't think he'll be as easy to beat a second time. And he's the only one I know about, so he's the only one I can prepare for.
Guy nodded before frowning. Who exactly would you all be facing once you advance out of the first round? He asked, the ordering of the brackets having slipped his mind.
Well, it would either be a team from the Stone Village or one of the Leaf's rookie teams. The one with the Nara boy, the Yamanaka girl, and Uzumaki Naruto. Tenten explained to Guy. You know Naruto. You met him for a few seconds when we were heading to the exams in the first place. Of course, Guy knew who Naruto was, even without Tenten's prompted explanation. Everyone of any sort of decent rank in the Leaf's forces knew who Naruto was.
Yes, the youthful young man that is also a student. So he can make that many solid clones.
Well, it made sense seeing as how he had the 9 tails within him. He had to be a chakra juggernaut. He could when we first met, the day after he graduated, and that was months ago in Tenten's calendar count. If he was in the final round now, then there was no doubt that he greatly improved. Either that, or he had 2 ringers for teammates, but she was betting on the former. If I mess up and let his clones get anywhere near me, then I won't be able to do anything. He'll beat me to a pulp.
How wonderful, Guy said, picking Tenten up in a proud hug. My young female student can even point out her own flaws and limitations in combat. And now we have information on possible opponents to share with Neji and Lee. Preparation is victory. Come Tenten, let's train.
I don't have a choice, Guy-sensei! Tenten yelled at him as the man took off in a sprint to find Lee and Neji once again. Put me down! Sasuke was currently rethinking everyone's stance on him as a genius as he took on a shadow clone of his sensei, Hatake Kakashi. From his experience in his fight against Naruto, one hit would dispel the clone. At first, he was put off and rather insulted when Kakashi told him to fight his clone. Instead, once he managed to defeat it, they would move on to something different. To spite the man for underestimating him, Sasuke planned on blowing through the clone and walking right up to Kakashi with a what's next attitude. Then, he actually started fighting the clone. the clone with half Kakashi's chakra, the clone that wasn't even using the Sharingan. It had been a week of training, and he hadn't hit Kakashi's clone clean yet. He was getting closer, but he still hadn't hit the clone. Why Kakashi was making him do this when he was actually working hands-on with Sakura, the man wouldn't say, but it was thoroughly pissing the young Uchiha off.
You're getting faster, Sasuke,
the dodging Kakashi clone said as it avoided Sasuke's furious taijutsu assault.
It's pretty impressive.
I'll call it impressive when I turn you into smoke.
Sasuke growled out, not taking the clone's patronizing compliments at face value.
I've got to be faster. This clone is one step ahead of me all the time, and it isn't even using Kakashi's Sharingan.
He thought to himself as his own Sharingan was locked intently on Kakashi's shadow clone, trying to take advantage of being able to see his steps in advance. Meanwhile, during Sasuke's prolonged engagement against Kakashi's doppelganger, the original was working with Sakura.
Sasuke is preoccupied, and Choji's father is taking him for the month so that he can get better control over his clan techniques. That means that for right now, you have me all to yourself, Sakura,
he said, giving her what she perceived to be a smile behind his mask.
Lucky you.
Sakura returned the man's smile, looking over at Sasuke struggling with Kakashi's clone. Noticing that Sasuke was doing far better than he was at first made her think of her own growth, or lack thereof. She hadn't added to her skill set since she finished learning how to water walk in the land of waves.
But what are you going to teach me, Kakashi-sensei?
Kakashi's face turned serious as he started to explain.
I remember you getting tree walking down on your first try, and then learning how to water walk in less than a day. Your chakra control is impeccable, Sakura, so I believe it's high time I teach you a way to use it. Welcome to an introduction in genjutsu.
Hearing that Kakashi was going to teach her something about genjutsu got Sakura's eyes to widen as she rapidly paid attention to everything that he possibly said on the subject.
It's admittedly not my forte,
Kakashi admitted sheepishly,
but I know more than enough about it to get you started on the right track.
He held out his hand and gestured for Sakura to grab hold of it, which she did.
Genjutsu basically works by extending your chakra flow through your enemy's cerebral nervous system to control the chakra in their mind. This is how the illusion is cast, so go ahead and try to channel your chakra into me for practice. It's easy this way, just to give you an example of sorts.
Sakura nodded and gathered chakra to her hands that were grabbing onto Kakashi's and used the connection between them to place her own chakra into his body. She felt her flow of active chakra enter her hands, so she knew that she wasn't just circulating chakra. She was expelling it.
Good,
Kakashi complimented as he could feel the foreign chakra enter his system.
But when you begin using genjutsu, it's most effective when you use the optimal amount of chakra necessary. Enough chakra to initiate your jutsu, yet not so much your opponent can feel something wrong. The amount you're using now could tip anyone off that you're trying to influence them somehow. You'll work on that though. It will take practice, he said confidently, getting a firm nod from Sakura in agreement. So she was fired up to learn about this. That was very good indeed.
Is there anything else I should know about learning genjutsu?
She asked. It couldn't just be that simple, or they would have learned more about it in the academy.
There's quite a bit more actually,
Kakashi confirmed.
The better you get further down the line, the easier genjutsu will be to cast. But you're a relative novice, so to help you along, you'll want to try and find some kind of medium to initiate a more effective technique. Something visual, or something that affects another sense of some sort to distract your opponent. You have to redirect a small portion of their attention for a moment, long enough for you to begin your jutsu. He was struggling to come up with some way to explain what he was talking about.
Fortunately, Sakura was more than sharp enough to connect the dots and come up with her own example of Kakashi's lecture.
So, something like a flash of light, or a specific sound or something like that.
Kakashi once again gave the girl a smile, his single visible eye crinkling in a cheerful manner.
Exactly like that. I think you'll be unnatural at this if you put your mind to it. It's a devastating focus of the ninja art to specialize in.
Sakura beamed at the praise before asking one more question.
Before we really get started, is there anything else about genjutsu that you think I should know?
Kakashi punched the palm of his hand as if he neglected to say something.
Oh yes, genjutsu is specifically effective on people that naturally have larger than normal amounts of chakra. If it's someone that develops a massive amount of chakra over time, it won't count since it will have slowly been grown into. It has to be someone that has always had copious amounts of chakra. So much chakra that they never get used to using tiny amounts of chakra and have to work extra hard to control it. This makes it so that the minuscule amount of chakra that most genjutsu techniques take up to activate aren't felt by those large chakra reserves. It's like a drop of water in a full bucket. You don't notice it.
Sakura nodded as she absorbed the information. However, she put two and two together about something that one would have at first deemed completely irrelevant as her mind raced a mile a minute.
Wait, that sounds pretty familiar. So you're pretty much saying that people that are suckers for genjutsu are people like...
Naruto let out a yawn before choking slightly, prior to letting out a sneeze as he sat down on the couch in his living room. Being that now was his downtime, he was not wearing his goggles over his forehead or his headband in a bandana style around his neck, nor was he wearing his dark blue arm warmers or his orange windbreaker top, forgoing it all just with the dark blue shirt that was usually underneath. The cause for his surprise was sitting next to him. Laying across the longer portion of the sofa was Ino.
eyes shut and seemingly a heartbeat away from napping.
Bless you, Goldie.
Ino said without missing a beat, eyes still closed. Naruto, on the other hand, rolled his eyes at his blonde teammate and nudged her legs with his elbow.
Hey, why are you over here? It's my day off. I was gonna take a nap.
Right after he got through getting himself some more ceiling strips and making himself some more explosive tags. But he could have gotten some clones to do the second thing.
Ooh, a nap sounds like a great idea.
Ino said brightly, poking at Naruto with her foot with a smile on her face.
But I came over here because it's my day off too. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna spend it behind a counter all day selling flowers. I'm tired,
she said, finishing with a pout.
So you'd rather stay over here and bother me for a few hours?
Naruto responded cheekily. He didn't really mind the company at all, to be quite honest. It was better than hanging out alone for the rest of the day after he made his visit to Shiho.
And what makes you think I'm not tired too?
Ino smirked at him before answering his query.
Because you're never tired, love,
she commented, batting her eyelashes sweetly.
That should really come in handy a few years from now for more than just ninjutsu.
Having hung around Jiraiya for the last of 2 weeks, and not even bothering to mention the time he had done so beforehand, Naruto of course knew what was being implied and then some. But by now, he had conditioned himself to take a certain amount of teasing to keep from being driven insane by his secondary sensei and his rather attractive teammate. Jiraiya's book was also full of rather blue language and comments on the female form, even though neither had anything to do with sealing jutsu whatsoever. Naruto let out a sigh and sank back into the cushions of the couch.
You know, if that bastard Sasuke ever heard you say this stuff, you might not think you like him as much as you say you do, Ino-chan.
In response, Ino stretched out her legs, placing them in Naruto's lap. This forced a gasp out of him because she was being far too affectionate, which meant only one thing as far as he was concerned.
What do you want from me?
He asked. Ino feigned a hurt look.
Why, I'm hurt. Goldie-kun, what makes you think I want something?
She then burst out laughing as Naruto started to tickle her feet. She couldn't pull away either because of the sticky fist style grip he had on her.
Okay, I'll talk.
Naruto then ceased his tickling assault on Ino to hear what she had to say. I'm listening. He ignored the rather hard punch Ino gave him in the arm once the tickling stopped. Taking a moment to regain her composure, Ino explained what she required.
I want you to teach me how to make a shadow clone.
Naruto's answer was direct and precise.
No. Come on!
Ino cried indignantly.
Why not? I've never said it before, but it's such a cool jutsu. One of me is fantastic, but I could only imagine what having 2 real me's around would be like. Or what about 12? 12 Inos, Naruto. That's 11 more of me to love.
Ino's argument broke down to uncontrollable laughter when Naruto deviously started tickling her again to get her to be quiet.
It's a forbidden technique.
Naruto defended with a frown as he tickled his friend. Part of the agreement to me learning that jutsu to graduate was that I promised Hokage Gigi that I wouldn't just teach anyone else that jutsu because it's dangerous. My censored jutsu is starting to evolve again, so when I'm close to people, I can feel their chakra compared to mine. And you don't have enough for it yet. After explaining that to her, Naruto stopped tickling Ino and let her go, letting her catch her breath.
How do you know for sure I don't have enough chakra for it?
Naruto gave her a deadpan look.
You don't even have enough chakra for one clone. One would exhaust you. And if you messed up the way you're probably going to when you try and practice with it, then you'd probably make more than one by mistake. Until you get control over it, that is. And more than 2 shadow clones might kill you, Ino-chan. So you and Shikamaru can't do it.
Naruto had seen that Shikamaru and Ino's specialized clan ninjutsu didn't take nearly as much chakra as his own shadow clone did. Maybe because their bodies were conditioned for these techniques through lineage. Still, that meant they didn't use as much chakra as he did regularly, and they didn't have nearly as much either. Both of them combined against Naruto chakra-wise wasn't even a contest, and everyone on Team 10 knew it and accepted this as fact. Ino crossed her arms and grumbled.
Well, what in the 9 levels of hell gave you so much chakra to use anyway? That just can't be natural, you know.
A large grin that belied Naruto's actual thoughts came over his face once Ino said that.
Yeah, Ino-chan, I know. It's just the way I am.
He said with a sheepish laugh. It was true. Yeah. It was the way he was without any choice of his own. And it often led to malice heaped upon him as a child, and now he knew why. But honestly, how could one spite him for it? All the while, he was thinking something different from what he said.
Wait, if it's just the way I am, then why am I being such a coward about telling you and Shikamaru about it?
Fuck it. The reasoning hadn't come up yet, and most of the things due to the Nine Tails had already been more or less explained away by his own teammates as possible traits of a clan. More specifically, his clan. Procrastination was that top trait of the next generation, and he was damn sure gonna procrastinate on telling Ino and Shikamaru about his demonic little secret for as long as humanly possible. If he didn't need to know about it until 3 weeks ago, then they didn't need to know about it now. Ino got the conversation off that track and back onto herself immediately anyway, pulling Naruto's thoughts away from something that he hadn't really addressed since he and Jiraiya spoke about it.
Oh well. I'm not gonna sit here and beg for a jutsu when I'm already learning one myself.
She let out a small laugh.
I was just trying to sidetrack myself from finishing up what I need to do to learn my jutsu. It's really hard.
She whined while waving her legs aimlessly in Naruto's lap. Being snapped back to normal by Ino's immature outbursts, Naruto laughed.
You'll get it, Ino-chan. You still have plenty of time.
Ino crossed her arms over her chest and gave Naruto a brilliant smile.
Why are you so confident all the time? Even back when you sucked at everything. No offense.
Naruto waved it off.
But even back then, you're always thumping your chest and saying you're the man.
The hell fucks with everything.
Naruto said, making a muscle and grabbing his bicep with the other hand in a showy manner. Take a foundation, no matter how strong, sprinkle generously with doubt, and watch it crumble. He pointed to himself. Me though, I'm unfuckwithable. Not this exam, not bad weather, not the many men that wish bad intentions on me can stop me. I rise up, not like a sphinx, but like the zombie corpse of the damn 4th Hokage. He kissed his own fist and pointed up at the sky, gesturing around the room. These seals are for you, believe it! Ino just stared at him for a moment before leaning forward and grabbing one of Naruto's whisper-marked sheets. That was actually fairly articulate. Someone's getting a better vocabulary these days, she teased. No child left behind. Reading is fundamental. Naruto gave her yet another deadpan look as she continued to stretch his cheek out. You're very cute, Ino-chan, but you're gonna be missing a few fingers if you don't let go in a few seconds.
3 weeks until chunin exams final round. The usual occurrence of Naruto squaring off against Jiraiya in pitched combat came and went for hours, and Naruto managed to get his time up to 2 minutes and 17 seconds. An impressive jump from the last marked time. The day of rest really did him some good after all. Someone's full of piss and vinegar today, Jiraiya remarked good-naturedly as the two stopped for lunch, heading back into town for the forest. What's got you all fired up? Care to share, kid? Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders.
Well, everyone's working so hard to get better in time for the finals. I don't want to slack off and have us fail out because of me.
He looked up at the taller man in a rather determined manner.
It's like this is my chance to prove that I really am a good ninja. I can't just get shot down after all the mouthing off I've been doing since the academy. And it doesn't matter that I made it this far in the first place, because this is the part that everyone's going to see and hear about.
Jiraiya peered down the boy momentarily as they kept walking back to town. Okay, first of all, you need to take all the weight of the world and take it off your shoulders. It's not that big a deal. He poked the top of Naruto's head. Get this through your skull so you maybe calm it down a bit. It's your first chunin exam. If you fail, it's not the end of the world. Unless you get killed.
Dying was most certainly the end of the world, so to speak. At least for Naruto.
So, if it looks like you're about to, get killed, Jiraiya said lazily, I'd advise you to quit. Because while quitting might not get you promoted, you sure as hell won't be promoted if your lifeblood makes a fine sheen coating on the floor of the arena. Hear what I'm saying, kid? Naruto shook his head no.
There's always a way to win, Pervy-sensei. If I quit during the exams, then I'll quit when the chips are down on a mission. No surrender. Whatever happens in this tournament, I'm not giving up unless Ino-chan or Shikamaru are in danger. I've got something to prove here. To hell with Gaara, to hell with anyone he had to fight. It was time to prove that he was just as good as he'd been saying he was for years. Because thinking about the worst case scenario just ripped a low growl from his throat. Hearing that got Jiraiya to sigh before he stopped Naruto and looked around the forest path. Once it was clear that no one else was there, he began to speak.
Alright, I know it's been a long time coming since we talked about this, but sort of like the elephant in the room, kid. You said you used the Nine-Tails chakra before, but you don't know how to do it consciously, do you? Naruto once again shook his head no with a frown on his face.
It just happened when I was upset in the Land of Waves. I didn't even know that was what I did until you told me about the Nine-Tails a few weeks ago.
Well, that's dangerous, Jiraiya thought to himself. So he subconsciously taps into the demon chakra when he's angry or hopelessly desperate.
And he didn't know how to do it on his own either. There was no doubt that his control in such a state was shoddy at best. So all they had to go on was that in times of desperation, Naruto could tap into the Nine-Tails chakra. It was his responsibility to help Naruto gain some semblance of control over it. And now was as good a time as any to begin. Naruto could use the skill that had been taught to him and was now holding him off for over 2 minutes. It was nothing to turn one's nose up at. The thing was, there was no recorded evidence of how to actually utilize the Kyuubi's chakra. But Minato wouldn't have made it an option for Naruto to do it were it not intended for him to use. So now that his structural teaching was out of the way, they had 3 weeks to find a way to get Naruto to learn how to use the Nine-Tails chakra. That would be easy enough, right?
End of chapter 21.